He didn't yell. He didn't cry. He didn't even flinch. My husband just stood there, watching. Watching her with me. And in that stillness, that unbearable quiet, I realized I hadn't broken the rules. I'd broken him. The worst part? He was the one who said I could. Appreciation. To all my incredible subscribers, thank you so much for supporting stories that speak the raw, twisted truth of real relationships. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, so you never miss a moment that could shatter a heart or spark a fire. From the story, my husband's silence was louder than her moans. "You're a good man, Ethan, but I'm not satisfied." Those were the words that broke the stillness in our bedroom. No yelling, no tears, just a truth I had swallowed for too long. And now it was out, dangling between us like a storm cloud waiting to break. Ethan didn't flinch. He didn't ask why. He didn't beg. He just stood there by the window, staring out at the backyard like he hadn't just heard his wife admit something that could destroy their marriage. I expected rage. I expected pain. But what I got was silence. Then he turned to me and said it calmly, like he was asking what we should have for dinner. "Then let someone else give you what I can't." Thank you to all my loyal subscribers for always showing love to these raw and emotional journeys. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, so you never miss the next heartbreak, twist, or firestorm. These stories are for you. My name is Lauren Mitchell, and I'm a 35-year-old wife living in the quiet edges of North Carolina. To anyone looking from the outside, we had it all: beautiful home, 2 steady jobs, no screaming fights, and a kitchen calendar filled with plans, date nights, and shared chores. My husband Ethan is a man many women would pray for. He cooks. He listens. He remembers anniversaries. On Saturdays, he brings me coffee in bed before I even open my eyes. And yes, we even had scheduled sex nights to make sure we didn't lose the spark. But routine isn't the same as passion. And comfort isn't the same as desire. Somewhere between grocery runs and morning kisses, I stopped feeling. I stopped melting at his touch. And worst of all, I stopped wanting him. I tried to ignore it. I told myself every marriage hits dry spells. But months turned to years, and I began dreading our intimacy nights. I would fake my moans, arch my back, whisper his name, but inside, I felt nothing. Not pain. Not disgust. Just emptiness. Until one night, I couldn't fake it anymore. I turned my back to him in bed, and he asked if I was okay. That's when I told him the truth. The next morning, everything felt different. He didn't sleep in the guest room. He didn't touch me, either. He just kissed my forehead and said, "Have a good day." It was almost worse than if he'd shouted. For days after, Ethan kept on being Ethan. He made dinner. Washed the dishes. Even texted me during lunch like always. But he never brought up what I said again. And I couldn't tell if that scared me more than the silence. Then one Friday evening, while I was folding laundry, he sat on the edge of the bed and asked me something that chilled me to the bone. "Do you want to try with someone else?" I blinked. "Excuse me?" He repeated it without blinking. "If you're not satisfied with me, should you try being with someone else?" "I won't stop you." My heart slammed in my chest. "No. Ethan, that's not what I meant." But he just nodded and stood. "I trust you," he said. "And I want you to be happy, Lauren. Even if I'm not the one who can give you that." And then he left the room. In the days that followed, his words kept echoing inside me. What husband says that? What kind of man offers his wife the chance to find someone else? Was he so broken he didn't care? Or did he think this would push me back into his arms? I didn't know. But something in me twisted. I wasn't angry. I wasn't disgusted. I was curious. For the first time in a long time, a door had opened. And the temptation on the other side wasn't just about sex. It was about power. About being seen. About hearing my own voice again. That same week, I met her. Her name was Maya Brooks, and she had a body like fire and eyes that said she noticed everything. She had just started at my gym, young, confident, with a smile that bent in a way that made my stomach flip. She offered to spot me during squats. And when she leaned in too close, her breath brushing my ear, I didn't move away. I smiled. That night, I crawled into bed next to Ethan. He was already asleep, his hand resting lightly on my pillow. I looked at his face in the dark. Kind. Calm. Familiar. And I thought of Maya. I thought of how her laugh sounded like a dare. How her fingers had lingered on mine a second too long. I thought of the silence Ethan had wrapped me in. And I whispered to myself. What happens if I say yes? I didn't plan on going back to the gym the next day. But somehow, my keys were already in the ignition before I finished that second cup of coffee. I was wearing my favorite leggings, the ones Ethan said made my curves look like trouble, but it wasn't his eyes I wanted catching them now. When I walked in, she was already there. Maya Brooks. Hair tied up. Skin glistening. A tattoo of a thorny rose curling up her left shoulder. She wasn't lifting weights when she saw me, she was leaning against the wall, sipping a protein drink like she owned the place. She smiled when our eyes met. That smile? It wasn't casual. It said, I see you. I know why you came back. Let me say this again, I'm Lauren Mitchell, 35, wife of a good man. I have no history of women. I never even considered the possibility. But something about Maya was like an itch under the skin I didn't know I had. She was everything I had muted in myself. Bold. Sensual. Unapologetic. And she knew it. We didn't flirt, not in the obvious way. No winks. No playful touches. It was in the way her eyes followed me during stretches. The way her breath deepened when I bent forward. The way she licked her bottom lip when I wasn't supposed to notice. But I noticed. God, I noticed everything. After a week of these silent games, she finally asked, "Wanna grab something to drink after this?" I paused. She didn't mean coffee. She didn't say it like friends do. I said yes anyway. We sat at a low-lit bar 2 blocks from the gym. The kind of place no one would recognize me in. We talked about work. About books. About favorite cocktails. And then she leaned closer and said softly, "Why do you wear your ring at the gym?" I froze. I'd kept it on out of habit. Maybe guilt. Maybe hope. I looked down at the diamond twinkling under the soft bar lights, and replied quietly. Because he lets me. Maya didn't ask more. She didn't need to. Her hand slid over mine, resting there. Warm. Confident. No judgment in her eyes. Just invitation. And then, she whispered something that sent a jolt down my spine. You're starving. I can see it in your eyes. She wasn't wrong. That night, I lay beside Ethan again. He was awake. I could feel it in his stillness. But neither of us spoke. He turned his back to me. And in that silence, my mind screamed louder than any words could. I saw Maya's lips. Her fingers. The way she didn't flinch from my truth. I thought about what it would feel like to be touched by someone who wanted to touch me. To hear moans that weren't rehearsed. To see eyes burning with need, not duty. Ethan made love like a man who wanted to please. But Maya? She looked like someone who wanted to devour. And I wanted to be consumed. The next day, I didn't go to the gym. Maya texted me anyway. Still starving? I stared at the screen. Then slowly typed back. I think I'm ready to eat. The first kiss didn't happen in some secret hotel or under the shadows of night. It happened in Maya's car, parked behind the gym. It was raining. The kind of soft drizzle that makes everything quiet, like the world's holding its breath. I sat in the passenger seat, drenched in sweat from our workout. My pulse was already racing, and not from the treadmill. We had barely spoken that day. But she reached across the console, gripped my chin gently, and turned my face to hers. And then, she kissed me. Soft at first. Searching. Curious. Then deeper. Like she had been waiting a lifetime. And God help me, I kissed her back. You think you know what betrayal feels like. But it's not just guilt. It's relief too. Because for the first time in years, I felt wanted. Not just loved. Not just appreciated. Wanted. And it wasn't even about gender anymore. It was about connection. About heat. About the fire Ethan had somehow let die. Let me pause and be clear. My husband Ethan is not a bad man. He's a provider. A listener. He helped my mother through chemo. He packs my lunch every morning with little handwritten notes. He schedules our date nights. He lights candles. He kisses my forehead. But that's just it. He does everything right. Like he's reading from a manual on how to be the perfect husband. And yet, in bed, I feel like a checklist. Not a woman. Not a storm. Not a secret he can't wait to undress. Just a box to tick. So when Maya kissed me again, I didn't stop her. When her hand slipped under my waistband, I didn't stop her. And when I moaned softly into her neck, I didn't stop myself. I let it happen. Right there. In the parking lot. In the daylight. That night, I went home to Ethan. He had made salmon. Lemon rice. My favorite. He poured the wine. Played soft jazz. Everything was perfect. And I hated it. Because I had just tasted something real. And suddenly, perfect wasn't enough. After dinner, we sat on the couch. My head on his shoulder. His hand resting on my thigh. And I wanted to cry. Because I knew I'd just started a fire I couldn't put out. And he had no idea. But the silence between us was different now. Like somehow, on some level, he knew. Ethan whispered, "Are you okay?" I nodded too fast. He didn't push. He never did. He just held me closer. But his silence? It screamed louder than Maya's moans. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake, thinking about the taste of Maya's kiss. Her laugh. The way her fingertips lingered like promises on my skin. I also thought about Ethan. And how the bed that once felt like a haven now felt like a lie. I wish I could say I ended it then. That I pulled away from temptation, confessed everything, and worked on our marriage. But I didn't. Because sometimes, when something feels this forbidden, you don't walk away. You run toward it. You never plan for an affair. It's not a decision made with logic or caution. It's a whisper that turns into a storm. Maya was that storm. And I let her in, even as the winds threatened to tear my life apart. It started with stolen moments. Longer hugs after workouts. Late-night messages that weren't just about fitness tips anymore. When she texted, "I miss your mouth," one evening, I nearly dropped my phone. I told her not to send things like that. But I didn't delete it. And I didn't tell her to stop. Because the truth is, I missed hers too. One afternoon, we didn't go to the gym. Instead, we went to her apartment. It was small, quiet, smelled like vanilla and trouble. The second the door closed behind us, she kissed me like she'd been starving. And I, God forgive me, kissed her like I was dying. We didn't talk much. Our bodies said what words couldn't. It wasn't love. It wasn't just lust either. It was escape. From routine. From silence. From being enough but never quite fulfilled. Afterwards, I sat on the edge of her bed, shaking. Not from regret, but from the weight of the double life I had just begun. Maya lay beside me, tracing lazy circles on my back, whispering things I didn't want to hear out loud. "You deserve more," she said. I didn't answer. Because a part of me believed her. That night, I went home again to Ethan. He had cooked, again. He had poured wine, again. He asked how my workout went. I told him I didn't go. He looked at me. Just looked. Then nodded slowly. His silence was deafening. I don't know if he suspected. But I do know this. A husband can feel when his wife has been touched by someone else. Even if he never says a word. The fire with Maya didn't go out. It grew. I found myself craving her chaos, her unpredictability, her heat. And every time I returned home to Ethan's calm perfection, I felt like a liar. A traitor in my own kitchen. A stranger in my own bed. One evening, Ethan finally spoke what I had feared for weeks. "Are you in love with someone else?" My breath caught. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't cry. Just sat there with a quiet devastation in his eyes that broke me. I said, "No." He nodded. But I think we both knew that wasn't the full truth. What do you do when the person you're supposed to love doesn't make you feel alive anymore? What happens when you realize you've become the villain in your own story? I didn't have answers. I only had fire. And it refused to go out. You think the worst part is the affair. It's not. The worst part is what happens after. When the dust settles. When the moaning stops. When the silence crawls into every room of your home and refuses to leave. I'm Ava Whitmore. And this is how my marriage truly ended. Not with shouting. Not with slammed doors. But with stillness so loud it could break glass. Ethan didn't throw me out when he found out. He didn't scream. He didn't call me names. He simply stopped being. No more meals. No more warm towels after my showers. No more scheduled nights where he'd hold me like I mattered. He became a ghost in the house we once built together. And somehow, that was more painful than any revenge. I tried ending things with Maya. Told her we'd gone too far. That I had to fix what I broke. She smiled. A sad, knowing smile. "You'll be back," she whispered. "Not because of me, but because you've already left him, your heart just hasn't admitted it yet." Maybe she was right. Maybe I had been gone long before Maya even existed. I told Ethan everything. One night. Every filthy, shameful detail. He listened. All of it. And when I was done sobbing into my hands, he said something I'll never forget. "I gave you all of me, Ava. But you wanted what I wasn't. And now, I don't know if I'll ever want again." It shattered me. Because he wasn't wrong. We didn't divorce right away. We lived like roommates for a while. Polite. Cold. A silent war. Some days, I'd catch him staring at me, like trying to remember the woman he once loved. Other days, I'd catch myself looking for him in our bed, forgetting he now slept in the guest room. One evening, I found a letter on the kitchen table. It read, "I forgive you. But I can't love you the same way again. Maybe one day I will. But right now, I need to love myself more." He had moved out. Left me with the house. The memories. And the silence. I haven't seen Maya in months. Sometimes I wonder if she really cared, or if I was just a detour in her own loneliness. I don't know. And maybe I don't want to know. People think infidelity is about sex. But it's not. It's about absence. Hunger. The kind of ache that creeps into your soul when your needs aren't spoken, and worse, when they're not heard. Ethan was a good man. He cooked. He cared. He tried to give me everything. But I never told him what I really needed. I just waited for him to guess. And when he didn't, I wondered. Now? I wake up alone. I make my own coffee. I schedule my own nights. And I lie awake wishing I could take it all back. But I can't. So I write. And I tell this story not for pity, but as a warning. Because sometimes, the quietest marriages are the ones screaming the loudest. And by the time you hear the silence, it's already too late. That's it. Thank you to all my loyal subscribers for staying with me through another emotional journey. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to get more powerful, raw stories like this. Let's grow this space together, one truth at a time.